Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about House of Wax on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. Your old pal Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from an abandoned town in the wilds of Florida/Australia. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. Now, we're going to unpack all the goriest of details of 2005's House of Wax in the hopes that a young college football attendee's death is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust, that if we need to kill someone quick, she'll pull the knife out of my thigh to do it. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm good. Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
Did you know that this movie stars Paris Hilton?
You know what? That is a curious factoid that I almost didn't perceive when I watched it or saw the trailer or saw the marketing campaign, which issued out t-shirts that said, "See Paris Die May 19th, 2005.
Well, because if you didn't know that, there are plenty of references to Paris Hilton dropped, liberally like Salt Bay over the first 25 minutes of the movie. You have someone saying that's hot. You have her being caught, maybe, giving a guy a BJ on camera. Yeah, that's a reference. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah. And nothing is funnier than referencing revenge porn. I mean, it's just a laugh, right? I think we can all indulge in.
I feel like she got the last laugh because she's actually not terrible in this.
No, she's just fine.
Yeah, I mean, she does all right.
Yeah, she does exactly what she's asked to do. And as someone who was forced to watch every episode of her Fox reality series, because I worked at the network at the time, I can tell you this is the best she has ever been on screen. If there's a better performance by her, congratulations. Thank you for watching it. I don't know that I need to. She's fine here. Everyone's fine here. This is a pure, it's fine, trademark Gina Radcliffe movie.
It sure is.
All right. But I don't want to alarm you, Gina, before we go any further, because we are not alone. That's right. We have two special guests there. From the spectacular Girl That's Scary podcast, the ones, the onlys, Kat and Jazz. Hello.
Hey.
I'm so happy to have you here finally.
We're so excited to be here.
Yes. And especially to talk about this movie I saw in theaters. My goodness.
Also did.
I saw it at a drive-in. That's I dragged my poor wife to see it. I think because whatever was in front of it, I actually wanted to see it. And I'm like, do we dare stay for this? And she says, I'm too stoned to drive. So we watched it.
That's a good time.
I'm actually jealous. I wish I saw this in a drive-in.
It was there's a large section of this movie that takes place in the dark. And as anyone who has attended a modern drive-in will tell you, that's not a place for subtlety. You want to see a sunny movie at a drive-in because they don't turn the bulbs all the way up and everything kind of becomes mush. So there were things that I saw in this viewing of this motion picture that I had never seen before.
Because lighting is important.
Very much so.
So you mentioned that you saw it in the theater, like in 2005. What was the impulse thing? Like, I got to go out and see House of Wax tonight.
You want to go first, Jess?
Well, definitely they had some appeal. They sprinkled Paris Hilton in there and she was a hot thing back then. I was like, okay, let me pull up on Paris Hilton and let me also pull up on Arnaz from what was that show? One on one?
Girl, I remember Cousin Skeeter.
Not Cousin Skeeter. But I saw him and was like, yes.
He has really nice eyes. Like, I could stare into those eyes all day.
He's so beautiful. He's so handsome.
Yeah, he's really attractive. And weirdly enough, I looked at his resume because I'm like, who is this guy? And he has consistently worked. since like 1996. And I'm like, why aren't I seeing this guy more often?
I don't understand why we aren't seeing him more often, because in the 99s and 2000s, I saw him on all the sitcoms.
Me too.
But not as much in movies. And I don't understand why.
He's very active on television. I mean, I was working on stuff for Empire, and I'm like, okay, I think I saw him on Empire, but he has an entire IMDb that is full of work. Like, he's doing just fine. But I enjoy that gentleman's eyes. They're very nice.
Yeah, this is a very attractive cast. Like, even the villain is attractive. And he has a twin brother, and they had to make him less attractive by having like literally half his face melted off.
Yeah, it was the same guy, and they're like, well,
with like a Tommy Wiseau wig on him.
I didn't melt her. So the thing that most horror people know about this movie is that it's a terrible House of Wax remake. House of Wax, a 3D movie with Vincent Price from 1953. I don't think I've seen it since I watched it on television. But the thing that this version is a amazing tourist trap remake. Kat and Jazz, have either of you seen 1979's Tourist Trap?
Absolutely.
Yes. And you can't see our face, but we just have like a
light bulb.
Because number one, we love Tourist Trap. Two paired with one. I didn't even think about that in terms of House of Wax. Like, that just blew my mind.
And it is. Yeah. I'm like, wow, they're the same.
Yeah, they pretty much are. And I don't know if it was necessarily intentional or it's something they kind of people discovered after the fact. I couldn't find any evidence of the filmmakers realizing that they were remaking a different movie, but it obviously their goal, because this is very Tourist Trap with the absence of Pino Donaggio's insane musical score, which will burrow its way into your dreams and expose your nightmares.
It's a little Tourist Trap. The other brother, Vincent, I got a kind of a Leatherface vibe from him.
Oh yeah.
There's a little homages here and there to lots of different slasher movies.
Well, and Gina, we've explored this a little bit in sort of getting into the 2000s remakes that we've covered here, but we have another variation of the entire town is in on it. Now, that was Golden Dune's like favorite thing to do. And it started in Texas Chainsaw Remake. And then every movie after is like the whole town is in on it.
Well, when you kind of consider the whole town as just the three brothers, I mean, everybody else just like left the town and the brothers, I guess, just set about trying to recreate the town in wax.
Yes. Repopulate it.
Yeah, so this town, within 10 years just fell off the map. I don't know how that happens, but, I'm not going to question it.
Yeah, I don't know how wax figures, subsist outside for extended periods of time. And what we are told is the Deep South, because I briefly existed in the Deep South when I worked for Universal and I lived in Orlando for a little bit. And it was like walking through a shower every day. I've never sweated so much in my life.
Well, it's my favorite version of the Deep South, like in Shark Night, where none of the main characters have deep Southern deliverance accents, but all the supporting characters do.
Yes, that's right. Kat and Jazz, have either of you witnessed Shark Night 3D?
I have not, unfortunately.
Don't. No, it's not unfortunate. It's not unfortunate.
Oh, okay.
Consider yourself fortunate.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but we kind of really love random shark movies, especially if they're like sci-fi kind of shark movies. Like, if you've seen Santa Jaws or, Swamp Shark, Ghost Shark, any of those things.
I have seen Ghost Shark. I watched Ghost Shark with Oliver, and he's like, do we have to watch the end? And I said, yes. Yes, my 10-year-old, I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to watch the end of this. We have to get all the way through it. So we learn our lesson.
We have to find out how this turns out.
It's important.
So this motion picture was directed by Jacome Colette Sierra. He's a Catalan Spanish director, mainly worked in commercials before this. And after this, he would go on to do some really good work with Orphan, which I think is a fantastic little thriller, and The Shallows, which is a damn good shark movie. But he also did 4, count them, 4 Liam Neeson movies. And of course, Liam Neeson is the most unproblematic figure we have in the acting world. I think we can all agree on that.
Well, thank goodness so far. So
currently, he's the Jungle Cruise in the can, and he's working on the Black Adam movie. So he's doing just fine. And this movie costs $40 million, and I feel like all 40 million is on the screen.
Yeah, that house is pretty cool looking. I have to say it's a literal house of wax, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, the production design here is top notch, and the physical makeup effects are fucking through the roof. I enjoy all the makeup effects in this.
Yes, they look amazing. And I was in the theaters like, oh my God. Because I don't know if I had seen some stuff like that before, but not up close. They zoomed in and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like poor Jared Padalecki getting like half his face sliced off. That was pretty gnarly.
Oh, not Jared. I love him. I love Supernatural.
This is not the best Padalecki look of all of them. They seem to have given him Justin Bieber's hair.
Yeah, but I was going to say it's very early 2000s though. It's very of the time. This whole movie is very, very early 2000s, right down to the Marilyn Manson on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The amount of butt chug on this motion picture soundtrack is just really gross. I mean, it's not as bad as Freddy versus Jason. That has to be the worst soundtrack we've ever lived through, but this one has at least some choice cuts, let's say. Whereas I think where it fails is in the pop R&B selections they choose. It sounds, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that so much. There was much better music at the time than what they have chosen to display here.
Listen, they could have made a song in the kitchen better than some of the songs they were making. Like, I was like, what is this? Because I had never noticed when I was first watched it. But now I'm like, what song is this? Even the songs that we just talked about, his beautiful eyes.
Blake, the character Blake.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why?
Blake.
He's rapping along to these songs. I'm like, what are they talking about? What is this? You are definitely losing Freestyle Friday.
I did like the random sprinkle of the MCR at the end. Was very much confused, but I was happy.
Well, it starts with Deftones. Like there's some good bands mixed in here, but then also there's things that just made my brain melt. But let's get to our cast and talk about their characters in more detail. First off, we have Carly. She is played by Alicia Cuthbert, who at this moment was hot off of being chased by a mountain lion for 2 episodes on the 2nd season of 24. That's right. For 2 episodes of a major television series, her character was chased by a mountain lion. And that was the plot.
I feel like Alicia Cuthbert has always played the same kind of character in every movie in which, I mean, she's fine. It's nothing against her acting ability. She always gets cast as like the girl that like every male character kind of stares at lasciviously.
Yeah.
Including her brother at times, which I don't think he means to, but they have some weird chemistry happening in some scenes.
There's a real problem with her and Chad Michael Murray because they don't look similar enough to automatically peg them as siblings.
Let alone twins. They're supposed to be twins. Right. Now, I know boy-girl twins aren't identical, but there's some similarity there.
Well, it also doesn't help that he is a good foot taller than her. So, like, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger were more convincing twins than these two.
And there's like a scene later in the movie where he's kind of like leaning in very closely towards her. Like, that's not how someone, stands next to their sister.
No.
Like if you had told me that these two had dated on the set, I would absolutely believe you.
Yeah, I know they're going for we're twins and we have like a rivalry happening here, but it just plays off on wait till I get you back to my trailer, which is not the vibe you want from a brother-sister duo.
Well, there's a parallel because they're twins and, the killers, parentheses S, are also twins that
yes.
I feel like they didn't, this was an idea that someone said, oh, this would be cool, and then did nothing with it.
Yes, it exists. It's there.
The whole thing, one's a bad twin, one's a good twin. And yet, except for Vincent and Beau, no, they're both bad twins. They both kill people and turn them into wax dummies.
Vincent is quite an artist, though, so that's good. Now, do either of you have particular feelings about Alicia Cuthbert?
I agree with you guys. I just felt like, it was just a Chad Michael Murray effect. It was very 2005. He was really hot. So that's pretty much it. I think they just tried to do like a gaze, but it was not giving brother sister. It was just, real question mark. But I was still, it's 2005.
Yeah, she was fine. She was okay. I've never seen 24. I had never seen this woman before in my life when I watched this movie. And I was like, she's okay. She's cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have Paige, played by Paris Hilton, who is playing Paris Hilton, also Paige. There's no differentiation between these two things.
Not at all.
She has a signature tracksuit on. She's in here. She's ready for action.
Signature clip-ins. I think I can't I'm not 100% sure. I feel like there was like a special or something on MTV, like when MTV was really into like movies and stuff or whatever, around this time, and they kind of went into like the background of what was going on in the movie, like with the different scenes. I know we touched on the scene where he's sitting and then all the wax is the wax is spraying on him. But they really were talking about Paris and how, they wanted to, her scene later with the, what happens to her. Yes. And how they really wanted to make that look as real as possible. And she was kind of floating around like, hey guys, I'm on the set. And I'm like, oh, this movie's gonna be crazy. I think that's why I wanted to see this, because of her.
Yes. I think there's always someone who's sort of the it person of a particular moment, and Hollywood wants to harness their star power somehow, and so they connive some sort of package for them. And she's fine here. She's fine, but the movie's not an acting showcase by any stretch of the imagination, nor is her character given much to do. Like at one point they float, oh, I might be pregnant, but I might not be. And it amounts to no development whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, all these actors are cast to be attractive young adults. That's the extent of their characters. I mean, at the best you can say that Chad Michael Murray's character is sort of the bad boy. And then you've got the other character, I think his name was Dalton, who's kind of like his sidekick.
Yes, they got a real Gaston LeFou vibe between the two of them. They might not be lovers, but give it time. That's what I'm thinking. They just got a real vibe going.
He was very much playing himself, in my opinion, because he played Cindy's boyfriend in Scary Movie. So when I saw him again, I'm like, oh, he's like the same guy, except this time he has a shirt on.
And listen, if you're going to hire CMM at this moment in time, you get that shirt off.
Yeah, I appreciated the beefcake shot of him taking his shirt off to hand it over to his sister. That you don't always see that in slasher movies.
No, and the angle they give it is like, get a load of this angle. No, check out the gutters. They're working. No, all right, abs up, pecs on point, delts working it. We also have Blake, the aforementioned Blake, played by Robert Richard. That he's got a little dash in his name for a little flavor. And then we've got the Dalton, who appears to be a Von Dutch hat brought to life by a blue fairy after she lost a bet.
That character, there is so much going on with that character. They look like He dresses like someone out of the GTA Vice City game a little bit. I was like,
Sure.
what the fuck do you have on?
He seems to have the baggiest clothes they could possibly give him. They're trying to hide whatever's happening on underneath him. He just has, again, for Florida, a lot of fucking clothes on.
Listen, and they're going to be wet, so it's going to feel like you're carrying a tent with you because you're just carrying big wet fabric now.
Very 2005.
We have Padalecki in this as well. And so I just kind of got that vibe between Chad Michael Murray and Padalecki that they are constantly at loggerheads at WB Mondo shoots. Just it's always a dick measuring contest between them at the time. I don't know. Maybe Chad Michael Murray's just jealous of Padalecki's hair. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
It's good hair, but I mean, when you got pecs like that, there's no reason for you to be jealous of anybody else.
Right. You're on a basketball drama that eventually will have a dog eat a heart on camera. Like, that's the highlight of that show. A dog eats a heart.
What show is this?
That's a plot point. He was on One Tree Hill, which started out as a basketball drama and very quickly became a soap opera.
Yep.
And in later seasons, one of the dads, who is like the big villain of the piece, needs a heart transplant. And the guy transporting the heart to the hospital gets bumped into, and the heart falls on the ground and a dog eats it.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. That is a real fucking thing. That really fucking happened on national television.
It is.
What in the...
I'm looking at her face. She is blown away.
We here on Kill by Kill, we just deliver all the stupidest information you could possibly gather on a motion picture. That's our nom de plume.
Yeah, we're dropping trivia, but none of it is useful.
Certainly not useful in understanding the motion picture we're talking about. So just so people know what the kind of setup for this is, once again,
It's a very, very long setup.
For reasons I can't quite understand. The reason these people are all together is that they're all going to attend a college football game for a university none of them go to.
But it's the biggest game of the year.
It's a big...
Blake keeps telling us that.
Between some college and another college that we will not name because we do not have the rights to do so. It's like Satine from The Visitor. And Blake's newfangled GPS, which he is absorbed in. Like, oh my God, can you believe this small iPod display screen is inside of this truck? It's just awe-inspiring. It takes them on a wild fucking goose chase. And they end up camping overnight near Trudy's world famous House of Wax Museum, which the sign says children free, meaning that children enter free, but it also sounds like it's free of children.
I had to, before we go on, I wanted to ask everybody, have any of you ever been to a wax museum?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So in Baltimore, there is an African-American history museum. And my sister, when I was like 15, my sister was like, you're going in here. We're taking you in here. And I go in here, like, first of all, I've been watching horror for a long time. So this traumatic kind of horror is bad. But why she takes me as the grown-up and she in here crying, looking at the, and I understand, but I'm also 15. So I'm looking at her like, are you kidding me right now? You dragged me to this museum and you are crying. But now as a grown up, I'm like, oh no, she was upset because she's empathetic. And I was a shithead teenager who was like, girl, you drove me an hour to this sad place. I want to go to the mall. I want to go to Hot Topic.
You were not in the right headspace for the experience. Let's say that.
Yes, but it was creepy. And then my high school took me to one. And when you get on they take you on the slave ship. And when you go on, there's like an audio speaker in the back. Absolutely. And it's like saying, remember. It's like whispering. I'm like, oh my God, this is really scary. I had to go.
Gina, have you ever been to a wax museum?
I have. I've been to the Madame Tussauds here in New York. And then some years ago, I went to, I believe it's called the Hollywood Wax Museum in San Francisco, which is much better than Madame Tussauds because it's way tackier. You've got the the celebrities that don't. Oh, I've been to the Mountain Stone Las Vegas too, which is a whole other thing. It's hilarious. But the Hollywood Wax Museum has a section where it's all devoted to like famous murders and like a torture chamber and all.
Sure.
And there's a whole big. I mean, this was like 25 years ago, but they had a whole like tableau devoted to Jack the Ripper and it was just like you got like someone you got like a wax figure like in a cage hanging from the ceiling, and I'm like, oh, this is bitching. and again, it's the worse the figures look, the better it is. I implore all three of you and anybody listening to try to look up online all figures of Tom Hanks in wax, because that's someone they cannot manage to do a good wax figure of for some reason.
Somehow the most visible face in the world in the last 35 years is unknowable when you try to recreate it in wax.
But you can definitely tell when they have the recycled, old figures for new ones. Like for some reason, it is a minor obsession of mine, wax museums. But if you see like wax figures of Lady Gaga, she is often recycled from figures of Cher. They just literally just put like a different wig on her and like a different outfit, but the facial features are very similar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I could see that. I'm struggling to think if I've ever gone to a proper wax museum.
As opposed to like in a illegal wax museum.
Right. A wax museum a neighbor just happens to have constructed in their basement or something like that. So all of them decide, what are we talking about again? Oh, yeah, House of Wax. So all these 6 friends decide it's too late at night for us to drive through the night. Let's just stop in the middle of nowhere, camp. And by the way, these fucking tents are gigantic.
There's like 5 of them, and they have like these like truck tarps as tents.
They're gigantic. Like one is just, it seems like an apartment. Like my first apartment was like that size. And I was also sleeping on an air mattress, and I had cardboard furniture. Now, ladies, don't come at me all at once, because I know there's nothing more attractive than a man with cardboard furniture.
You've got those unframed posters on the wall.
Wow.
Oh, Gina, I had 3 teaser posters for the X-Files movie.
3, huh?
3. There were 3. There's a blue one, a red one, and a green one. And I had them as a triptych on the wall because I understand art.
You put that up and you did the thing where you like hold your hands up like you're trying to frame a shoot. And you're like, I'm so getting laid.
I needed to find where on the wall they really fit. Like, how far apart should they be? How close together? What's the vibe happening here? I mean, it was a miracle I got laid at all.
And yet, I was going to say, and yet you did not frame them.
Oh, no, they were fucking framed with cardboard frames that I bought at South Coast Video in the mall. I don't still hold on to those. I don't currently have them on display at the new house. Let's put it that way.
I want you to turn over your entire house and try to find a picture with those in the background. That would be my greatest wish.
And you know what? I'll have to ask Becky, but I mean, it was a real fallow period for pictures because it was before every phone had a camera on it. But I don't think I even owned a camera. I mean, I went through living in Japan for a couple of years without having any photos of me anywhere because I didn't have a camera. I didn't own one. I was a fucking idiot.
Oh, like there's no evidence. Yeah. He was like,
there is no evidence.
Yeah, there's no evidence because, pictures or it didn't happen. But it happened in your brain. You remember the experience.
Yes. A lot of things happened in my brain, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about House of Wax. So as they're camping, we kind of get a vibe for their dynamics. We have Nick. I have to look at their names every single time. This doesn't bode well. Nick sort of smoking and surly in the background while everyone sets up a tent. one of the guys, Dalton, makes a really good He-Man haircut joke at Jared Padalecki, which I enjoyed a lot. And also drinking Moosehead beer, which is something we have not seen, Gina, since My Bloody Valentine.
And I was going to say, not in Florida. Why are you drinking Moosehead in Florida?
Well, here's the problem with Moosehead and Florida. This film was made in Australia.
Wow. Wowee.
Which is why there are so many gum trees in the background, a tree you're not going to find in Florida.
Some random, like, crocodile in the background.
Right. Surprised giant spiders aren't attacking them constantly.
Wombat jumps out at them.
Wet koalas screeching in their general direction.
That'd be amazing if you just threw a koala bear in there.
Honestly, the Pokemon lived there, so I don't understand how any Pokemon did not pop out into the camera. I could just imagine a wild Bulbasaur pulling up on them. Like,
yeah, I can't imagine catching them all in this environment, if I'm being honest with you, especially because so many of them end up dead. And those dead animals end up in one giant pit that smells. Now, I don't know about any of you, but if I decide I'm going to spend some time in an area and I smell every time the wind blows the stench of a pit of dead animals, it's time to move on.
Yeah, at least go down the road or something.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I would do that. And I also would not, seek to find the source of the smell because it's not going to be anything good.
No. Ejectocito, cuz. Like, we are leaving. It is time to go. I would have literally said, we're not camping anymore. I will drive through the night to the game. I will listen. I'm not staying here because at that point, my adrenaline would have been running. Something smells dead because I'm immediately going to think it's a monster out here. It's a zombie. Let's get in the car. Let's go. It's time to go.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like either there's a dead animal or a dead human, and either way, I am not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yep.
So why am I trying to find it?
Speaking of the sort of the stench of death, how about fashion? In this motion picture, Carly is dressed like she's going to the premiere of a Disney Channel original.
Well,
it is a sad outfit.
It's very 2005. This is why I love it. It's like the 99 2000, especially the early 2000s. It was just basically a great time, but a random clusterfuck. So yes. I'm just going with it. I'm like, okay, she got a tank top on. I don't know what they got on over here. Okay, we got the velour sweatsuit. This literally describes every mall scenario in the early 2000s.
Yeah, all they needed, like someone should have been wearing Uggs. I mean, I don't imagine wearing Uggs would be very comfortable in Florida, but you have to suffer for fashion.
Once upon a time, Uggs were unfashionable, but because I grew up here in Southern California, they were big in surfer culture because once you got out of the ocean, you didn't want to put on shoes, you would put on Uggs. But I also, once upon a time, used to wear Uggs to community college. And at the time I was in a play that required me to use a bullwhip. So I would practice the bullwhip on the football field in Uggs. And
wow, you just let out all your secrets in this episode.
Listen, if anyone was attracted to me just but on the basis of the lovely bass tones of my voice, let it be known I'm a massive dork. And here's an experience here. I wore Uggs and I used the bullwhip in public.
What play were you doing, man? That's required
Taming of the Shrew. We were doing Taming of the Shrew. So okay. I had to be able to bullwhip and wrap that whip around somebody and drag them to me against their will so that I could win a bet and then we magically fall in love together. Gina, it's tale as old as time.
I'm just thinking of that Saturday Night Live sketch with the guy using the bullwhip and he just keeps like hitting people in the face with it. He's supposed to be like very very skilled with it, but like he just like he just misses everything that he hits.
I gotta look this one bad boy up. You know what is also very 2005? Gay panic jokes. This movie is rife.
Oh yeah,
gay panic jokes.
Yeah, and a little slut shamey too.
Oh, yeah.
Very stinky behavior.
Yes, very smelly behavior. Definitely.
I'm with you. This is a very weird dynamic that is happening here. And yet it persists for far too long. I agree with Gina. This movie would be great. Just like top-notch entertainment at 95 minutes. You could just cut a lot of this.
It's literally takes over an hour before someone gets killed. That's a lot for this kind of movie. That is a long time.
Listen, the football game is so important that it takes up like 45 minutes.
And you've got to establish, what the deal with Nick is, and that doesn't really go anywhere or have much bearing on the plot overall. It naturally, as soon as it seems like the sister might be in danger, all is forgiven, and he even says that her boyfriend's a nice guy, and whatever, fine. You've got to they take a lot of time establishing who these characters are, even though again none of it really matters much.
Yeah, I mean they are trying. I just wish that it added up to something in terms of that. I think this film has. There's some really good stuff in that, but I feel like they're attempting to make characters here. They just can't quite pull the thread all the way through on like Nick acts like a dick, but he really helped Dalton out in a bad situation and said, "Oh no, I stole that car." But it was really Dalton. And you're like, well, I don't care about Dalton. What do I care? Like, this is, please give me a reason to care about anyone.
You can make Nick be the final boy without having to go through this big reveal that actually he's not such a bad guy.
In fact, he could still be a bad guy and not want his sister killed. Let's say that out.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this was actually, I watched this for the first time for this show. I literally finished it like 2 minutes before we started recording. And when I saw that this was like an hour and 50 minutes, I was like, what? I was like, how is a movie about a bunch of teens, getting killed and turned to wax dummies almost 2 hours long?
We got a lot of searching through dark houses to get through, which is part of the issue. They're threatened, threatened and dick fingers by a truck, which Nick throws a beer bottle at. This kind of comes into play when they notice that that headlight is out later on in the movie, but could have done without it too. Anyways, they find a giant pit of dead animals. And they also find one of our favorite people, Gina. It's Damon Harriman.
Yes.
Australia's greatest permanent American hick.
Yes. Also known for playing Charles Manson for about 10 seconds in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Wow.
But he also played Charles Manson for longer than 10 seconds in Mindhunters.
That's true. He did, but very effectively.
Yes. He's very, very good at playing sleazy American doofuses and criminals.
That's not entirely true. He was in a movie called The Nightingale, in which he got to use his actual Australian accent, but was also a villain.
Someone let this man be a romantic lead already. He's proven he can do everything else.
He was a horrible rapist who gets a wonderful comeuppance in it.
Yay?
That's not a fun movie. You shouldn't watch that.
No, I could feel that it would trigger the living hell out of me. But anyways, his character is not given a name, so we're just going to call him Roadkill.
No, he's something that starts with an L.
Lester?
Lester, thank you.
Lester?
He is given a name, yeah.
I couldn't find any evidence of it, but I'm glad he does.
He's credited as Lester.
Oh.
Now, whether or not, I feel like someone said his name in it at some point, but...
He spends a lot of time leering. He's our leer cam for the middle section of the movie.
Carries a filthy knife that just looks like a tetanus shot waiting to happen.
Cat Jazz, do you think that you could be a roadkill person professionally? Do you think that's something you could do if you found you were in need of a job?
Absolutely not.
No, I would rather be the person who dances in front of the building when they're doing tax season. Yep. And I'd rather dance with the signs wearing the Lady Liberty outfit. I'd rather do that.
Before this.
I'd rather eat a denim jacket. I would.
Now, how much do you get paid to eat denim jackets today? Like, what is that going for?
You know what? It's going to put more on the table than picking up this roadkill because I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I have to say it probably makes more than whatever money they're making that allows them to keep doing this. So the big reveal is I'm gonna spoil the movie.
Sure.
By saying that this town that these young people end up in it turns out to be 3 brothers, but predominantly it's 2 brothers up to a point where there's a big twist. Oh no, there's a third one and he's still alive. And the whole town is populated by wax figures that are apparently mostly people they kidnapped and turned into the figures. I don't know what they are living on or how they are affording food or electricity, or I'm not quite sure, because the main antagonist, Bo, he ostensibly runs a gas station. But this is also in a town that is inaccessible by car.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what the local economy of this town is.
Do they live near a natural wax spring? Like, how are they? It's one thing to start with, like, all right, we're going to make a wax museum and we're going to have to import some wax so that mom can follow her passions. Some moms crochet, others join an MLM. She's like, I'm going to make a museum made out of wax. So yeah, like she's buying wax to bring in there. But when she passes away and they start this project of converting passersby into living dead people made of wax, where are they getting this fucking wax from? Like, are they sending it away in the mail? How is it getting to them?
They have to be sending away for it. They're probably robbing the people they're kidnapping, selling their cars.
Oh, that is true. They're sitting on a treasure trove.
Don't know how they're eating. I feel like Bo would bite the head off of a squirrel. He would.
He's only got really half a mouth to do it with, too, because he's only got the chompers on the one side. And the other one's kind of a floppy mess. Might have to puree that, work it with a straw.
I love the very short flashback at the beginning of the movie that, like, you're supposed to think that the screaming devil child is the one with the facial deformity, but no. That's the one that looks quote unquote normal.
What a twist.
A twist.
So twisty. It's a real shamalama-lam-a-lam there.
I don't know about you guys, but I could not find the third high chair. Like, did I miss it? Or is this like that child came later?
I think he was supposed to be younger.
Okay.
Yeah, he's younger.
They tricked me because I was looking for pictures even in the wax house. I'm like, damn, they didn't even really care about him. Like, they really got him running all the errands. They couldn't even put a picture on the wall.
Well, when you give birth to children that are conjoined twins who are joined at the face, I mean, any subsequent children are going to kind of be not very interesting after that.
Right. Like, oh, great, Lester learned how to walk, but we separated these 2 twins from the face. You're never going to live up to the spot.
I love the Photoshop picture of the babies where it looks like the one's like just gnawing into the other one, the back of the other one's head.
Lester here has a really dirty knife. We get a nice, that's not a knife, this is a knife. But it would have been better if he was allowed to speak in his Australian accent, because that's what you want.
It wouldn't have made any sense, but it would have been better.
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're huge movie people. So Charlie and Wade eventually wander into this town called Ambrose. And this is where we meet a guy named Bo, who happens to be dressed like he's just auditioned for Swingers.
Again, 2005, baby.
Is it 2005? I don't remember suits being that baggy.
I think we were still kind of just coming out of the swing music revival at that point.
Oh, well, then again, he is cut off.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, they're not like they're on the internet and keeping up with the fashion trends.
No,
the town was supposed to have been abandoned like 10 years prior, so that would have been like 1995. So yeah, that kind of actually makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Now the Swingers suit makes sense.
I don't know if that's what they intended, but that's it kind of tracks a bit.
Yeah, it makes the Zoot Suit Riot thing that he's got going on make a lot more sense. We get this whole thing like Bo's pretending that he's at a funeral, and it's like, how dare you walk into this church?
Here's what I have to ask. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is one of those movies. I liked it. I liked it better than I thought I would. Was this funeral? Is this something he does all the time, or is this something he set up? Knowing that they would go in there. Like, is this part of getting the ball rolling in trapping them?
I think it's part of trapping them. I think he knows when people cross the city limits or whatever by some sort of, I don't know, Jason signal. Remember in the Friday the 13th remake, he had a series of bells that went through all his bomb shelter.
So in comparing him to Jason, he also had that sort of psychic, predetermination to know that they would just walk into the church looking for someone.
Yeah,
to help them.
Unlike Jason, who knows your fuck style and he uses that against you, Bo has an idea of how desperate are you to find clues and just look everywhere. Because Wade, as a character, is too fucking nosy for his own.
Oh my God, they are. He is. They both are. They're just poking around. They
just can't stop.
Going into places that are clearly closed and locked. And I just want to look at it.
Now, Kat and Jazz, are either of you like you can't stop yourself from like pulling a little Nancy Drew when you're in someone's place where you're like, I got to figure out what's happening here?
Absolutely not. I would not be. He's touching he playing the piano. I'm like, wait a minute. You walking around like this is your house and you pay rent. This place is, you're not even supposed to be in here. You came here for a timing belt. I think it's a timing belt or one of them belts in the car. I don't know. A fan belt. You over here trying to get a belt and you over here touching stuff and in the wax museum looking at people. I'm like, you need to be worried about this car.
You went to the zoo with Wade. He'd end up like pole vaulting into the tiger enclosement. Like, he can't fucking stop. Someone needs to slap him hard across the face and go, get your nose out of everyone else's fucking business.
No, he gets what he deserves because, the same way he would have jumped into that tiger and the tiger would have whooped his ass. It's the same reason that what happens to him because he walking around touching stuff. And that's what you get. You should have had your hands in your pocket and your buns should have been in that car waiting for that belt.
Yep.
I like this attitude.
Yeah, all this starts because everybody's really impatient.
Yeah, they can't fucking wait.
They decide they have to stop off the side of the road because Blake wants to get to this football game. They start poking around where they don't belong because Bo has the audacity to take 15 minutes longer than he said he would. And it's just like, just stay where you are, for God's sake.
But it doesn't matter in the end because once Wade starts his investigation, he won't fucking stop. He finds all sorts of, this creepy stuff. Like, this movie is up to its neck in creep. Like, that part works. But finally, something is too much for him. And as he heads outside, he gets scissored in the Achilles tendon by Vincent.
He gets gauge created.
He sure does. He folds like an old chair right on the ground, and ends up taking a knife to it's above his heart. It's like right below the shoulder. It's not a fatal wound, but it's not fun.
As opposed to Bo, who takes an arrow directly into the heart and somehow does not die immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
His heart's made of stone.
But then again, he adds a weird one for me. After takes a giant gulp of Gatorade, like, I don't know that this is an electrolyte problem, my man.
Very much Florida.
Yes. Florida man. Says that's a sentence.
I mean, at least he didn't take a drink and then, pour it on the wound.
Yeah.
This is what plants will need. So, we learn after this fact, we kind of get to see into Vincent's methods, as it were, with Wade.
This is the coolest part. This is the coolest part of the whole movie.
I
love seeing how the sausage gets made.
And this is a real process. I have to say, Vincent is an artist. He really is. Like, he's fucking good at this.
He's so good, it's literally scary.
Listen, because those things look, when I first saw that movie, and I was like, these look real. Because they're all corpses. And so he would also make a good, what's the person who puts makeup on the corpses and prepares the bodies? He probably would be really good at that.
A mortician.
Yes, mortician. Yes. I don't know if the morticians do they do the makeup too?
Yeah,
it's
generally.
A full service gig.
Yeah.
Listen, if he would have did this instead of, murdering people and making wax, he could have actually maybe afforded a better lifestyle.
Yes. Yeah. get you one of those half face masks, like on that HBO Atlantic City Boardwalk Empire.
Yes.
That one guy's got a half mask on.
I was going to say, or you can get some decent reconstructive surgery instead of walking around with like half his face melted off.
Listen,
Yeah.
Also, this is prime St. Lunatics time. He could have really wore a face mask like Murphy Lee and would have been fine.
Either or, there was a solution.
11 out of 10 reference. Please make it again. That's top notch. So, yeah, we get to see, as Jana mentioned, how the sausage is made. Vincent, he sews Wade up, then gives Wade a full facial hair Brazilian. Just takes it all off.
That was the most painful part of the whole movie for me. that and Alicia Cuthbert like having to like open her mouth with the glue on it.
Oh. See, I mean, this is that era, that sort of quote unquote torture porn era, where they're really focusing on like the worst kind of thing you could live through sort of moment in horror. And I think this movie finds a way to weave that in without it being grody in the wrong way, like morally wrong. It's just you don't like it. You don't think, oh, but it's also accomplished in a way you're like, oh, he took off the top of a finger. That's gonna fucking hurt. And then he puts him in a what looks like some sort of saw contraption that puts him in a particular position with little pin pokes that are poking at him, and sprays him down with wax, and then gives him a good satiny finish. Puts a wig on him, sits him down at a piano, and he's good to go.
Terrifying.
Stress.
I don't know about any of you, but I find the concept of being sealed alive inside of wax, immobile, less fun than you might think.
Yeah, I mean, one question I have is are all of the wax figures in this, are they all still alive? I mean, obviously, someone like Dalton was not, but
right,
because his damn head got taken off. But are some of them at least still alive?
I mean, I think they're alive until they're not.
Yeah.
If they catch them alive, I think you go through the process and you just rot within the wax shell, and that we kind of see that along the way.
Yeah, no, this is an extreme version of the cast of Amontillado. Like, instead of getting sealed behind a wall, they done sprayed you into the wax cast, and you just got to sit there with your eyes moving around as you die.
You got to sit there with a terrible wig on your head. You know how I feel about wigs, Patrick.
I do.
No part in it.
I mean, and he was a guy with a great head of hair, and they're just not giving him the justice that he deserves. And that's the one place that Vincent isn't quite up to snuff. But then again, he's not working with the best wig making materials ultimately.
I mean, Vince's wig itself isn't very good. Hairstyling is not his forte.
It isn't. His talent lies in other areas. Let's put it that way. Meanwhile, Carly has this whole, like, I'm trapped in a truck and I'm trying to get to my phone, and half of the truck goes off a small cliff. After Scream 2, you can kind of tell, like, when it comes to suspense sequences, that is not where this movie is really bringing it home. It's just not to that level. It's not that I don't like it. I like it quite a bit, but here you kind of like lose the plot of where people are or why it's important or who they're hiding from. It kind of, cat and mouse is not something he works out in this film. He does it much better in The Shallows later on.
Okay, I haven't seen The Shallows yet. Heard good things. Would like to check it out. But you're right. The tension is not there. Like I said, I think they're focusing on the gotcha with the crazy wax concept or stabbing people in the Achilles, which always sends me like like they're getting in with the torture, the glue, the finger chopping, all of those things.
Dark Castle was kind of famous for a system, and they were basically one-room horror movies where they would build one huge set, and then all the action would take place in that set. That's the way House on Haunted Hill works. It's the way that 13 Ghosts works. It's the way that Death Ship, what was the Death Cruise?
Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship works. which really goes downhill after that opening. But they would build one gigantic set and then everything would take place there. So it wouldn't be like a film that has a lot of locations. Whereas here, this is a film that does have a lot more locations than the usual Dark Castle fare. And I think that because of that scope, it loses some of the proximity. Whereas at the end, when they're all trapped in the now melting House of Wax, that fucking works for me. That is when this movie kicks into the right gear.
It is pretty great, but I have to. I was trying to imagine what it must have been like to try to walk through that, and all I could think is like it's like must be like walking through Frisco.
It is the most affecting melting stairs that we've seen. And,
but also like nobody gets burned by it, which is odd to me. Because have you ever had you have hot candle wax spill in your hand or something? It doesn't feel good.
Gina, have I had hot wax put in places? Is that what you're asking me? On the down low, is that what you're asking me? Things are getting weird.
Yeah, well, Oh, this is uncomfortable.
Oh my God, did you hear the last episode? Patrick started talking about hot wax on his body. I felt weird.
Anyway, it burns.
No, I was watching the ending again today. And they were running up and the wax was splashing upward. Like, I'm like, y'all are like shin deep in hot ass wax. Like, no one's going to react to this?
Suspend your disbelief right now.
They're too hot to be hot, I think, is what it comes down to.
I mean, it's not exactly lava, but it's kind of like lava.
Let's cover a couple of these character deaths because we don't want to miss anyone. We get Dalton investigates some shit. Turns out he finds Wade at that piano and attempts to free him by peeling a good chunk of his face off.
That reminds me, I don't know if this is going to go up before or after the episode of Hannibal we talked about, but there's a very similar scene to this in one of the recent episodes of Hannibal we covered, where the person was covered in resin and had to try to peel some of it off. And
that'll be next week.
Ended up tearing off some of his skin, and it was very gruesome. This is pretty close to that.
Yes, I would agree. It is wildly uncomfortable, and it's made even worse when Vincent comes by and hacks off a good chunk of Wade's face for measure, and you can just see his eyes darting around and crying underneath, like, oh, he's a human being.
Yeah, and apparently, like in the according to the plot description on Wikipedia, that is Wade dies from that. That's why we don't see him well, we do, but for a second. But yeah, apparently that killed him.
That pretty much did him in. That's all he could take. Dalton ends up stumbling down a bunch of stairs, and Vincent kills him off with 2 knives, and as a kind of like a scissors thing. He decapitates him with 2 knives. Like, Vincent's an artist, Gina.
That's some flair. That is flair. Also, Vincent's got some amazing upper body strength because you can use 2 knives to cut someone's head off. And also just, flangs a pole at someone and goes right through their forehead.
It absolutely does.
He javelins that thing at her.
Yeah. Blake gets a big old neck wound, and then we have an extended cat and mouse between Paige / Paris Hilton and Vincent, in which he javelins a rusty pipe through her head, which, again, the practical effects in this movie are chef's kiss.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciated that when he was pulling the pipe out of her head, the closed captioning on my TV said crunch squish.
Ew.
I think you could title this episode Crunch Squish. Like, that's what this movie is.
Ooh.
It's top-notch crunch squish.
It is. It's a lot of squish. It is a lot of squish. And when he went down with first of all, I didn't know those 2 knives. I just knew those were scissors. And he chopped his whole head off so quick, but the eyes were still blinking after he chopped his head off. And I was like, you know what? Everyone keeps blinking after they die, and I need to understand.
Yeah, I have the feeling we're all going to pick the same death for Choose Your Own Deathventure because of the the quickness of it. Because everybody else's deaths are pretty dragged out.
I mean, I mean, do we have any other things that we want to talk? Because we kind of talked about the end all along the way. I mean, the end of this movie is fantastic when an entire house melts and you have to crawl out of it. Like, thumbs up all the fucking way. Did we miss anything?
The exterior shots are a little shaky. I think a lot of the flame effect is CGI. But the interior is really, really well done. I have to say it's pretty effective.
Yeah, no, the inside looks great, especially with the effects where they're peeling the walls back and shit like that. Because now the house is literally Play-Doh, and we can just do whatever we want. But they're trying to walk steady, but they're slipping because the floor is melting. It is stressful the whole time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it aged well. I mean, obviously it's 2005. And you're looking at the graphics, and it's like, oh, okay, woo, it's a fire pit from hell. Everyone's melting. But it's not like I hate looking at it. I'm like, oh, this is still fun and enjoyable.
I did like how Bo just sort of slowly fell through the floor. I thought that was pretty cool.
It almost becomes a reference to the Nightmare on Elm Street phantasm pit that mom drops down to, where the flaming Freddy chokes her out for 5 minutes and everyone stands back like, I'm not getting involved in that. That's just too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Bo did not, come leaping out again later. Once he was dead, he's actually dead.
Yeah. Even down to, when you see them going up the steps, I had briefly said this to Jazz before we started chatting. But like you see him going up the steps in their Chad Michael Murray's. I'm not even gonna call him by his name. Movie. He's Chad Michael Murray. Chad Michael Murray is going up the steps, and his feet just sinks into the stairs. And I was like, "Is this Nightmare on Elm Street?"
Yeah. Like I said, there's a ton of like little winks and nods to other horror movies in this.
I think it's a pretty well put together little motion picture. I think it's is it quite the gem that we hold the Mutilator up to? Well, the Mutilator is kind of its own thing.
That's its, right? I was going to say that's its own beast. I mean, this one does not have its own upbeat theme song and a blooper reel.
A house of wax.
Ball break. Also, I feel like they didn't spend $40 million on the Mutilator either.
Oh, they sure didn't.
When their big special effect is putting milk in a pool, no, it's not quite
filling some condoms with blood. Yeah, no, they were definitely not working with $40 million.
So yeah, but I do feel like everyone knows the sort of the assignment, as it were, and they are all aimed in the same direction. It's not entirely successful, but it's also pretty damn fun to watch.
As we've determined, our audience does not really go for our decrepit selves focusing on movies that are more than 30 years old. Yeah. So we're trying to focus on more current-ish movies.
It's a real how do you do fellow kids move on our part,
right. And I there was a period from the late 90s to the mid 2000s where I really just kind of checked out of horror movies for a little while, because it was really getting into the torture porn era, and everything was a remake, and everything was like cast with like CW stars, and I just was like, no, that's not for me anymore. And this was kind of fell into that category for me, so I wasn't particularly enthusiastic about doing this, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was okay. It was pretty good.
Jazz, what is your final verdict on House of Wax 2005?
Yes, that's the verdict. I will definitely watch it again. It's just that, like, especially if you kind of fast forward the first 35 minutes and wait until they just get into the church scene that's where the real action is, honestly. I could give a damn about that football game they were going to in the middle of
right, exactly. Nowhere. That's just like nothing. Just don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even showed us the traffic. Like, oh, we stuck in traffic, girl.
They gave me PTSD looking at the traffic. I was just like, I'm not even in the traffic. Please, someone send help.
We're in the DC area, and the traffic is...
Send help. I know it's not as bad as LA or Atlanta or parts of Texas, but please, someone help.
Yeah. I've never had to do the Washington, D.C. traffic, but yes, L.A. has gotten particularly bad as things have revved back to life. But let us talk of more pleasant things. Let's choose your own death venture. And that is where we all decide individually of all the deaths presented in this motion picture. If you were forced to die that way, which one would you choose and why? And of course, up for bid, we have take a couple stab wounds, get your Achilles tendon cut, and then get sealed into wax, get your face peeled off and die crying. Or you can get your head cut off by 2 knives, or you can take a couple arrows to the arm and chest, take a couple bat hits, and then sink down into melted wax. You could get a pipe through the head, which was particularly nice, or you can get a knife to the neck. And how does Vincent really go out? He just kind of melts.
They stab him in the back and he falls.
And he falls. And he gets the Phantasm Pit reference. Yes. Okay. Well, Kat and Jazz, you are our very honored guests, and I would enjoy it if you both would go first.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I have found and taken off my imaginary hat. I would like to go out like Vincent.
Okay.
It seems like after the initial shock of, oh my God, just stabbed me, he just died. And it was quick and it was fast. It was very dramatic. It had extra flair. So the Sajimi is jumping out. And it's a great time. And then I just die a fiery death because I'm already dead. So now my body is ash. You don't have to worry about burying me. Boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's efficient.
Yeah.
I like that.
See?
I too am dramatic because Leo, and I have decided that I will take the pipe to the head because there's a cute chase scene. I had an outfit on. I'm giving them drama. I'm running. I'm screaming. And then there's a pipe going through my forehead.
Now, there is some spotty wig work happening here. Are you okay with dying with that kind of like, I can see where the inserts of the piecemeal patchwork wig things that are happening here? You're okay with going out like that?
Well, I'm dead, so I feel like God won't judge me as I come up to the pearly gates with my wig sideways, because I have a greater problem, like the pole that's in the middle of my head. Now, I do hate a poor wig. Like, it's gonna upset me and my homegirl that I'm going out in a synthetic wig with no part. Like, that is sad.
But it's 2005, so actually it would be very suitable for the time if your wig was crazy and or weave. So we forgive you.
Oh, you're right.
Okay. You know what? That logic is solid to me. Gina, what say you?
I too am going to take pipe to the forehead, but for a much more simpler reason that it just seems the quickest death. I mean, we kind of really skirted over Blake's death because it technically takes place. Well, not really. It doesn't really take place off screen, but he's just sort of like stabbed in the neck and like left there to die. And he seems pretty aware of what's happening to him. And that's just like, that's just, I mean, the only death worse than that is Wade's death, because Wade's definitely aware of what's happening to him.
Oh yeah, no.
And I just can't imagine what sort of sadist would choose that way out for themselves. But I'm a coward. I'm going to take she was lights out almost immediately.
No, she winks out. She like blinks and goes bye-bye.
Yeah, so I will take pipe to the head.
I'm going to take Dalton's way out. Not only is it quick, but also I get to wear all that loose clothing, and I feel that suited my body type in 2005. So
yeah, but she also got to wear a red hat. That has such a negative connotation now.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, I literally grimaced when he first appeared on screen. I was like, oh wait, no, this is 2005. That does not signify anything yet.
We're already on the edge. I mean, the most unbelievable part of this entire movie is right at the beginning. We learned that Carly is going to be working in New York City as an unpaid intern at InStyle magazine, and you're just thinking, well, legacy media and print, that's not a career. You shouldn't do that.
The most horrifying thing of all.
Like, oh, no. That's not going anywhere, Carly. But who knows where she went from here? We'll never find out. There was no sequel. There never will be. But before we go, let's find out what our personal sequels will be. Kat and Jazz, why don't you tell us where people could find you and where they can listen to you?
All right. Well, again, we are the Girl That's Scary podcast. I'm Jazz, the 40-ounce connoisseur, and
I'm Cat Daddy. Hello.
And we are at Girl That's Scary on Twitter, Instagram. We have a website, www.girlthatscary.com. We also have a Patreon. Just search Girl That's Scary in there, and we will pop right on up. And we are. What do we have coming up next? Because I don't know when this episode comes out, but
not this Friday, but the Friday after.
Oh, okay. Well, the Friday after, we've got a lot of fun things coming out and coming down the pipeline. I think the Friday after, I'm crying because our O is like, but
because I was like, what is coming out?
I think it might be zombie related. I feel like that's what's in my check. Either that or it's large creature related.
Oh, it's a large creature related. Okay, so I just looked at it. Great. So if you're listening, you got a treat. So when this comes out, King Kong would have just come out.
Surprise!
So we're talking about that. That's going to be a good time. We're talking about all of them.
Great.
So
every King Kong?
Unfortunately, yes. All of them.
So even the heart transplant one?
Oh.
Wait a minute. Which year was that?
Well, it's King Kong Lives. It's the 80s one with Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm going to watch. If I can find it, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch every single one I can find because, I'm hard-headed. No matter how terrible they say it is, I'm going to look at it because I need to see it with my own eyes.
Well, that 76 one, I had to get my parents' permission to watch at a friend's house during a sleepover because my mom was worried whether or not I would be able to handle him washing a woman underneath a waterfall. She thought that might awaken something inside of me. And it did.
I'm concerned.
It is a weirdly horny movie. King Kong 76 is, again, there's a lot of attractive people in it. And it is that King Kong version, he leers a lot. There's a lot of leer cam.
She has a lot more chemistry with the mechanical gorilla than she does with Jeff Bridges. It has to,
which is hard to believe.
It has to be
Jeff
said.
Bridges. Really is weird. He blow dries her by blowing on her.
Ooh.
We talked about this before, and all I can think is, imagine how that must have smelled.
Oh God, no. I'm like, what if it smelled like hot dog water? No.
I mean, what is King Kong's diet? He's like dining on random dinosaurs and stuff. So, like, how does that age? He's not flossing. It's a whole thing.
Oh, I feel like rotten meat might come out his mouth as he's. You know what? This is what I'm gonna bring up because I'm tired.
Well, I can't recommend your guys' podcast enough. I think you guys are hilarious. You obviously are wonderful friends, and your chemistry comes a lot. And you love the genre, and I think you're fantastic. I've wanted to have you on forever, so thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. My heart and my eyes are misty.
Yeah, no, Kat's eyes really are misty. She cries all the time. It's really nice. My heart's made of stone, but I am also moved by your kind words.
I feel it. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net, and I am on Twitter under Porcelain72.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on Twitter and all the regular places. Please rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice if that is an option. It helps us be seen and heard by more people. Find us on Patreon for more cool stuff. Until next time, the body count will continue for myself and for Gina and Kat and Jan. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.